Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is John. I'm a filmmaker slash creator and your host for Make Limited Podcast, where we talk about how to change our circumstances when life happens. In other words, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Today, we'll be talking about the law of principle. Welcome everyone to Make Limited Podcast. This is your host, John. I am excited to have you here today. It is an amazing time to talk about the law of principle. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by and listening to Make Limited Podcast. I'm telling you, it's gonna transform and change your life from this point on. Okay, when the time you finish with this podcast, you're gonna have your life from upside down to the correct way, be motivated, be inspired to be better human. This is what Make Limited is all about. So today we're going to be talking about the law of principle. It's a very important thing that I believe we all need to hear in our lives because everything has a principle. Okay? But what is a principle, first of all, before we start talking about it? Okay. So let's define it so that we can get the right context in what principle is. So the definition of principle according to dictionary.com is a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior or for a chain of reasoning. Okay, so to put it as simple as we can, it's a fundamental of truth, is the foundation of what holds your life. Okay, think about it as a house, a building, whatever you will, and it is the foundation. If you see a house, the concrete, right? Everything that is built in that foundation, if you think about it, sand, rock, concrete, everything, iron, all this stuff of hard work to put this foundation is what pretty much a principle is. It is a beautiful thing to have in our lives, principle. So now that we know what a principle is, the foundation of our lives, let's go a little bit deeper into it. We've all have had something in our lives that we've done, okay, and that we've had the same results happen over and over again. Okay? That is my example as a principle. Whether you get up and you make breakfast, you know that if you cook an egg, that egg is going to go in a pan. It's going to get heated up and it's going to become that white or white yellow egg that you want, right? You know that for a fact. It's going to happen regardless of what you do. It's the principle of what transforms that egg from being inside that shell into the nice egg that you eat for breakfast. It is that principle that if you put it under fire, it's going to cook. It is a principle that if you put anything under fire, it's going to cook. It's going to burn, right? It's going to be transformed. Principle, the law of principle, is for something to be believed as the foundation of things. What is the foundation of cooking an egg? Fire. Principle of it. If you have fire, you can cook anything. If you have fire, you can burn anything. If you have fire, you can hurt yourself or use it for good things. The principle of fire, we know it. We've learned it when we were little, when we tried to touch something hot that looked pretty because it was flammable. And we touched it, we burned ourselves, and we cried. Most of us, right? Not all of us, but We figured out in some way that fire was hot. And it became a principle known to us that if we touch fire with our hands, we get burned. And now we live by that principle. So when we see someone trying to touch fire, maybe like a toddler or something, we automatically react to that because we know that if the toddler touches with the finger, it can burn the little fingers. And then we're going to have the other principle of pain. Pain, no matter what happens, it's going to hurt. That's what pain is for. Our brain alerts us that this is pain. And so we feel that pain in our fingers and we automatically remove ourselves from that pain so that the pain can cease and we are painless no more. Or pain no more. Or painful no more. This is principle. A simple concept of how we live our lives. We've learned it. We've grown up with principle. It's been there our whole lives. Our parents taught us about principles without probably consciously knowing about it. But they've taught us enough to know how to survive in this earth. Right? The principle of growing up is you're going to need a job. You're going to need to get money. You're going to need to get some sort of place that can help you store your money. Then you have to build if you want items, materials, if you want kids, you want a spouse. You're going to have to build something to support whatever it is that you want to do. It's a principle. We know that we have to work in order to get those things that we need according to the lifestyle that we live here on earth. It's a principle. It's become a principle. So we live on a daily basis on principles without knowing or with knowing. For example, myself, one of my principles is very simple, is treat others as you would like to be treated. Granted, not every time does it work, but it's my principle that I live by. It's my principle. Do I 100% succeed in this principle? No. Why? Because as a human, I have emotions. Sometimes those emotions are disturbed. Sometimes are ruffled. And as my body reacts to pain, so does it react to other things that disturb it. Maybe rub it in the wrong way. Thus, anger, disappointment, confusion come in play with his feelings, these emotions. One of my other principles that I live by is do not let your emotions guide you. Or not guide you, but do not let yourself live yourself through emotions to be your choice that you want to, be the motivation of your life. And I talked about this on the earlier podcast when we talk about when should you do something when it comes to a crisis or something before it happens. When nothing is happening. That's what we talked about. If you want to learn more, you can go and check it out. It's really good for your life. But I'm telling you today, the principle of this is to help you before it happens, right? Now let's get back to the feelings and the emotions. The principle that I live by, don't let emotions run your life, right? Don't let it run your life. Why? Because they change constantly. What I do, I don't just push my feelings away, my emotions away. I use them. How do I use them? I use them as a source or a tool to be guided. If you can have multiple advices, you can be even wiser than what you thought you were. Why? Because you have many people's point of views that help you narrow down what is the best result for you. That's why I don't push my emotions away, but I use them. It's a principle that I live by. I don't let them make the choices because I feel a certain way, but I let them be tools so that they can be a sort of a guidance for my life. Right? Because your brain tells you things. Sometimes the brain will give you an emotion of fear, and you feel afraid to maybe sign up to go to college. Maybe you feel afraid to sign up for a class because you know what, it's a lot of money, and you don't know if it's money for a certification. I mean, or you want to spend money on this single class because it's gonna give you a promotion in your job, but you just don't know. Maybe you want to start a business. Maybe you want to do something for your life that is different, but you're just afraid. It's an emotion. That's why I don't let that be the choice maker, but I let it be something that I use, because it's either gonna make me question why do I really want to do this? Why is this really scaring me? Why is this happening? Why am I feeling this? This is the guidance that I get from the emotions. Because I start realizing that it's either something that's going to be valuable to me, or it's either something that's going to hinder me from moving forward. And one of the things that we learn here in Make Limited Podcast is if you're not growing, you're not flowing. Or if you're not flowing, you're not glowing. You're not growing. Because you need to keep moving forward. Okay? There's time when we need to build. But that build up is so that we can move up. It's not just to build and just make more burden for ourselves, but it has to take us to the next level. That is the principles that I live by. And I talk about them here on a daily basis. If you listen to the podcasts that we've talked about, principles after principles after principles, we have spoken on different things. This is what Make Limited is made of. This is what Make Limited lemons into lemonade is a principle itself. We turn things into positive, from negative to positive. We live by principles in our lives, and they're there to help us, to guide us, so that we can use it as a principle. So we can use it as things in our lives that guide us to every step and decision that we make. It's very, very important principles. So whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're thinking about, there is something in your life that you want to reach, something that you want to feel. Maybe you feel trapped. Maybe you feel that you are enslaved to something. And you're thinking about something that you want to do. Here's a principle that will help you. And this is the principle that I live by as well. And I talk about it time and time again. If you still have breath in your lungs, you still have time. You still have time. So many of us, when we're trying to reach our dreams, we believe that we're getting older. We believe that maybe it's too late because there's a lot of, new generation coming up and they're doing new things and it's just getting more difficult. And, this is not for the older crowd anymore. And we feel that we are not equal to other people because we're older. The fact is that you're going to be getting older. You're going to be growing and growing in wisdom. Is what I like to say. But if you stop yourself for a moment to think that you're not valuable or worthy enough to be at a certain place because it's not their cup of tea, then you are belittling yourself and pushing yourself down lower. And you're not going to grow in that area. But if you switch your mindset to a principle like mine that says, if you still have breath in your lungs, you still have time. We have stories after stories of people who have succeeded at a late age. People who have succeeded at a very young age, and people who have succeeded at all types of age. That's why I say you still have time. Why? Because history gives us the results. History gives us the ideas of what has happened and what you can do. What are humans capable of doing? This is the beautiful thing about principle. Because that principle will take you to the next level. You feel that you're too old? Think again, my friend. If you still have breath in your lungs, you still have time. No, but I'm too old to go to college. I don't want to waste my time. If you still have breath in your lungs, you still have time. There's another principle of mine. I would rather be fighting for what I want to do than to cease to live in this earth thinking about the things that I could have done. And I learned this principle by Dr. Miles Monroe when he gave this, I want to say, this picture of the richest place in the world is the cemetery. Why? Because the cemetery are people who died with dreams that didn't come into reality. Ooh, many dreams. When I heard this, I realized that I have breath in my lungs and that I can still do what I need to do. When I heard this, my life changed from being down to up. Why? Because I didn't want to be in that place. I didn't want to finish life not full 100% following my dreams, doing what I wanted to do because of fear, because of emotions, because of things that were hindering my life. I didn't want to. So what did I choose? I chose to still have breath in my lungs and do something with that air. And that's what I'm doing every single day of my life. There have been ups and downs. There will be times where I'm doing 100%, and there's times that I'm doing about 5%. Because life can be sometimes a roller coaster. And it's not easy at times. And at times it can be. It can be super easy. Super easy. Sometimes we think to ourselves and we're like, okay, this is too good to be true. But what I say in those moments, another principle is enjoy those times. Enjoy every single time, whether it be up and down, you enjoy every single time because it teaches you something every time. Every time. One of the things that I like to say when you're not growing is that when you're not growing, it's because there's something that you don't know. Okay? That's a principle that I put in my life. When you're not growing, it's because of something you don't know. And the reason why I say this is because sometimes we want to take things on ourselves and we want to be at a state that we know it all. And that state can be very dangerous because we push people away that have the answers to our problems. And sometimes we need to figure out that we don't all have the answer and that we need other people to help us and lead us to find those answers. Because they have something that you don't. And that's the beautiful thing of collaborating. It's the beautiful thing of helping each other. Why? Because you go further. It's a beautiful thing. That's why the principle of when you're not growing, it's because you don't know some sort of information that is keeping you from not growing. That has helped me grow so much, learn so much, because when I don't know something and I'm not growing, I sit down, I think about what I need to do, and then I look to people to see what they say, talk to people to see what their opinion is, if they know something that I don't, because I need to find that answer. And I don't rest until I find something that helps me grow. And I'm telling you, it has got me from 5% to 100% of production. It's been a beautiful, beautiful, life-changing growth. A simple principle takes you from being at the lowest to the top of your game. The most important principle for me has been the principle of do it because you want to do it. And the point of this principle for me is this. At times we want to do things for several reasons that we are unconscious or conscious of in our minds. Sometimes we don't know that we're doing this until someone tells us, and sometimes we're doing this purposely. But what is this that I'm talking about? I'm glad you asked. Sometimes we want to prove to people that we're worthy. Sometimes we want to prove to people that we are valuable. And we prove it through materials, by positions, by education, by financial states, knowledge, wisdom, and we try to prove it in so many ways that we come into a point that we are no longer doing things for ourselves, but we are doing things for others. And not in the good way, but in the bad way, where we want others' approval. We want others to give us a check and tells us an approval word. And we do this thing as humans because we want that praise, because we want that assertiveness from others so that then we can be confident and assertive. But when you go in that direction, the negative part of that direction is that when you go into having others assert you, you fall into a place where you're seeking constantly for that approval. And that leaves you dry, and that leaves you sad, and that leaves you depressed, because when you don't have it for a very long time, you are at the bottom of the barrel. That's what my principle is. Make sure that you're doing things for yourself, not for others. Why? Because when I start doing things for myself, I release these opportunities to be able to be without worry when it comes to helping others. Isn't it a beautiful thing when you are capable of helping someone and you don't have a limit to help? Oh man, that is beautiful. Beautiful. It's one of the things that I dream of my whole life. Being at a state where it's not an issue. I'm in the state that I have to plan things. And of course, I'm saying when you're at that state, you're still going to have to plan things. One of my principles that I live by every single day is do things when whatever you're doing, right? With the things that are small, be faithful, be great at it, so that when you go into the bigger things, you will do amazing. Why? Because you were 100% in the little things, and now you're going to be 100% in the big things. So many times we think that because it's a small project, because it's a small business, we aren't going to put so much effort, but when we get to the big leagues, then we're going to be 100%. But the thing is, you need to be 100% now so that you can be 100,000% when you get to that area. Because you're going to be able to perform, you're going to be able to lead, you're going to be able to do more because you have more hands now. Okay? That is the beautiful thing of this principle. So again, the things that we do for ourselves are going to create room and are going to create wealth for you to help others. Now, I'm not saying that wealth is the main source of things, but I'm saying it's something that helps solve problems. Okay? Right now, many people, they work and work every day of their lives so they can pay the debts that they owe, so they can pay or buy things that they want. And it's the main reason because of necessity. Sometimes we want to help others, we want to have the heart to help others, and we give and give and give, and we go broke ourselves. And that's not what I want for you. That's not what I want for you. Here at Make Lemonade, what we want is for you to succeed, to be inspired, motivated, and better human. And how can you do all those things? By doing things for yourself. Not in a selfish way when you leave everyone out of it, but have people join you in what you're doing. Have people motivate you. Be an encouragement. Get people to join your vision. Not forcefully. Those people that want to. Get together. Encourage each other. It's never good to do business with people you don't like. That is another principle. Never good. Why? Because you're not going to have a good time. It's not going to go smoothly. And you're always going to be like a cat with his hairs up, or a dog that is always looking to see if anybody's going to come on their back. You don't want to do that. So my point here in today's talk about the laws and principles are things that will guide you in your life, are your foundations as you build it more and more. As you keep growing, there are going to be other foundations that you need to build. There are going to be areas that you need to go to build things. Relationships, partnerships, amazing things. That's why the law of principle is simple. If you do it, it's going to happen. But you have to do it. You have to put your work, you have to put everything that you have for it to happen. It's the principle. If you do it, it will happen. Sometimes what's keeping us from succeeding is just the doing part. Because we believe, we're inspired, we're motivated. But the becoming, the being, is the action, which is one of the toughest things that we face. Why? Because we gotta walk. Because we gotta run. Because we gotta move. Sometimes we don't want to move. Have you ever been in a state when you're just starting to exercise and you're trying to get yourself back into that shape that you were, or you're just plain out trying to get into shape? You start out, you don't want to move. It hurts. But the more you learn about how to take care of yourself physically and how to exercise, the more you start growing in that knowledge, and the more you start learning. And what do you know? 1 month, 10 months later, you are in a different shape, in a better shape. So it's the action that gets us to where we need to be. The motivation, the inspiration are tools that we use in our lives. But when we're being better humans, when we become better humans, the becoming is the action. It's when we have to turn the wheels, is when we have to get up and move. So I hope that you were inspired. I hope that you were motivated to be better humans today. And like always, thank you for being here. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Peace. Alright, so you have reached the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for stopping by and being with me today. I'm just hoping that you were inspired, you were motivated to be better humans. Today we talked about the law of principle, and it's a very simple matter that if you do it, it will happen. If you take action to what you want to do and move forward into it, it will happen. And we talked about many principles in our life, one being, if you still have time, if you still have breath in your lungs, you still have time. And it's a beautiful thing that we have in this life, to be alive and be able to do something, be able to move, breathe, and have dreams and accomplish it. And that's what we want for you at Make Limited Podcast. We want you to grow. We want you to be able to move forward into better things. Ultimately, be better humans. Thank you so much for being with us today. If you want to reach out to us and let us know how Make Lemonade is changing and just motivating and elevating your life, you can contact us on our Facebook page and send us a DM at Make Limited Podcast, or you can go to our website, makelimitedpodcast.com, and send us a message there and letting us know how Make Limited is transforming your life. So again, you can find us in those areas, and you can send us messages. You can send us, if you want to have your story in Make Limited so that we can talk about it, by all means, send us our message and we'll respond, and thanking you for your participation. So thank you so much once again for being here, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.